like us in like a cardboard box. Where's my friend? Hi.
Hi. Are we live or?
Ever have it go right? Just like maybe once. All right, let's start this shit. I am Molly Sleuth. I am a recovering teenage punk rock hellion turned LAPD detective, and then I left there working major assault crimes, and now I'm living the dream in the Midwest. That's a story for next week. But I am joined by my besties, Randy from LAPD. Randy, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Randy Agard. I'm friends with Molly, former LAPD, former Marine. Hi, Danielle. Still living in California, having technical difficulties because our governor decided we don't need electricity. So,
dude, that's so bullshit. And they told you that they would be back on by 5:30 and then 7. You know goddamn well that Newsom's house has electricity. Anyway, as a holiday treat, we are joined by my SoulCal goth bestie, Danielle. Danielle, introduce yourself and your cat, please.
Yes. Hi, I'm Danielle Noire. Oh, there goes Mr. Bojangles. He's a little shy, camera shy. As Molly said, we were besties back in SoCal in the Death Rock days when we were sliding along the dance floor. And yes, and I made my way all the way to the Rocky Mountains where I'm corporate goth now and joining forces to share all of our successes and failures so you can make your life better. But today's a special treat to be interviewing the two of you on something I know nothing about. I was never in the LAPD. I think I bought cigarettes for kids once and got like a public arrest, but that was about it.
Oh my God. Yes, somehow. Well, thank you for defecting the sinking ship of California. Now, if we could just get Randy out, it'd just be so much better. Speaking of so much better, I have internet. I'm at work, but technically I have internet and I have a camera and I got a new phone. I'm not even using it yet because I'm scared that I'm going to ruin my Amish street cred for my 2016 Galaxy J7 Prime, which has my sister already like up in case we have an emergency. God, there's a lot of things to do when you first start the whole shabil. So thank you. Leyland says, looking and sounding great. And I can see chats. This is like another world for me. Like I was really big on Friendster and like now having to like catch up with all this like new shit is kind of, well, actually I was big on AOL chats, then Friendster, then MySpace. I was on a lot of top 8s. Anyway, thank you guys. Thank you to all of our new supporters and anybody that's like liking and doing all kinds of shit for us. It really is super awesome. And I totally have to say a special thank you to Big Hair Tsunami. You sneaky fucker. I saw you and I love you. Thank you. And also to my baby sister, Kate, the Kate Awakening, for letting us take over her fucking channel with our nonsense and like shit the place up. So tonight we want to talk about death. And so, yeah, last week we talked about death, but it was like kind of like the mystical side of death. And today I want to talk more like the practical stuff from a cop's perspective, going to the scene and doing the investigations, but mostly like how we help you and your family, because this shit's going to happen to all of us eventually. So we might as well like not be scared of it and just be ready for it. But that said, so we're on YouTube, so we have to watch words like Susie side. Hate YouTube. Stupid censorship. And then just a little disclaimer that we have a little bit of a dark humor. We've seen some stuff in our day, and we definitely want to honor everybody that we've helped. And I think I speak for Randy and I both when we say like that we believe in the inherent good of mankind, and we really just want to help everybody. So hopefully some of these stories will help you. And we might change some details of the of our recollections to honor and respect the dead and their family. And also, if you're on the Molly chat, I put some ridiculous emojis over there that you can just abuse the shit out of. That's what they're for. So have fun with that at the Molly Sleuth channel. I think you just have the regular ones on Rumble and YouTube. You're fucked. I can't tell you. Anyway, enough of me. Danielle, take it away. What?
Yes. Thank you. Well, let's start with what you already explained, kind of like tell me a little bit about like the mechanics of the death investigation. So like what happens when you get there, like you arrive, like what are logistics around there? What happens?
Randy, you want that?
Yeah, so we'll get what's called a radio call. So on our MDC or police computer in the car, it'll say basically, I'm going to keep stuff super simple so anyone can understand. Go investigate a death at this place. And then when you arrive, you're going to see a dead body. The particulars, and I just want to say something that Molly kind of said. We have a lot of respect for people's families and the dead. So if anything comes across, maybe like you think it's offensive, it's not. Like, as I've gotten older, I appreciate life and death way more. But anyways, we get there and we have to assess and make sure, was this a homicide or someone took an emergency exit, or was it a natural, I love you, free speech, anti-free speech monster. Thank you so
terrible? Much. Yeah.
So anyways, assess the scene, see if there's foul play. We're not supposed to be like checking the body and moving the person around and stuff like that, but look at everything, talk to everyone. Molly, you mind taking a little more of it? It's been 10 years for me, so.
Yeah. Fire department has to come because they have to pronounce. And we were talking about this the other day, and like, I think there's certain situations where we can just say, yeah, it's a bag of bones. I don't really need the fire department to come out and put their little nubbins on a femur that somebody found in Griffith Park. But usually they have to give a time of death. There's a few things that we need. We need a doctor to sign off. And oddly enough, in California, a chiropractor is a doctor that could sign a death certificate. And so, I mean, obviously, if you have stage 53 cancer and it was just any minute now and you're 107 years old, then that's not going to be a hard sell. But you have, somebody young and healthy, and it's like, yeah, nobody's signing that. So then the coroner will come. If you are 107 and the doctor's going to send the death certificate, then I can say to the family that you can call your mortuary funeral home to come pick up your loved one, and they can just take them straight from the home, and that's fine. You don't have to get any of their clothes ready or worried about, cracking out grandma's gold filling. Like, just, you've got time to go through her closet, and I know I'm disgusting. People get weird around death. People get very greedy. I saw it with both of my grandmas. My one grandma, like, everybody, it was just like a grab for stuff that was worthless. And like, I get it when you have somebody that's actually, it was my friend Monica's birthday yesterday, and she died of cancer 2 years ago. Right before Christmas, and I just wanted something of hers. I don't care if it was her pillow. I just wanted something. So I kind of, we as cops, like, we do go through the human part of it too. So we do understand, and we understand the emotion. I think for me, it's like, it's my job to try to make it the least awful for you, like whatever I can do. So, because there is some time, we get there, the fire department's going to come, we're going to wait for the coroner or the funeral home to come get your loved one. And so then there's like time where we're just kind of like going like, so how about them Dodgers? And I've done all kinds of things for people. I've changed their light bulbs and made them a sandwich and like whatever you need me to do. Like, one thing that LAPD has that I'm sure other agencies have is that they have access to a language bank or a translator. And let's say that you have, some odd cousin that lives, in Germany where Monica's family was from, I can get the language bank on the phone for free, and they can translate whatever you want translated. And hey, Monica has passed and we don't have the whatever yet, or it's going to be next Saturday, and that's really a great tool that you can use. Some people don't want to make any notifications, but what we can also do is, like, let's say you have a kid that lives in Ohio or something. I don't like to make notifications over the phone. It's really awful, awful, awful news. And you just never know. And I don't want to be responsible for somebody driving off a cliff or, doing something crazy. So typically what we would do is call the jurisdiction where your loved one lives. And then those officers would come and knock on your door and give the notification for, your family in LA. And I would think that all of them would be like that, because it's just a phone call that I have to make and send some officers over and get a name and maybe give them, your phone number so you guys can connect, or however it works. So there's a lot of notifications that can happen. On our end, there's notifications. I think a supervisor always has to come out. And yeah, like Randy's saying, is like a lot of it you can determine if it's natural, accidental, intentional. And that's mostly what our investigation is from the beginning. People just naturally die all the time. So you don't have to get investigators out taking pictures of the bedroom and all the medicine bottles and shit for everyone. But although I've had cases like that. And just that initial part of coming means somebody's already called 911. Or it starts with a welfare check. Hey, I live in New York and I haven't heard from my mom in a while. Can you go head over? And so, you go to the house and cars in the driveway, or maybe you don't see anything and nobody's answering the door. And so it's all of that kind of stuff that leads to, do we kick the door? Has a neighbor seen them? Can we get the mom on the phone? Can we, there's a lot of stuff that we do before we kick a door. Although we can, if there's a million, it's Los Angeles, so it's usually pretty hot. And sometimes you can just pull the car up and take one whiff and that something happened. So at any rate, we're there to help and give hugs and just try to make it like the least shitty that it could possibly be. We don't usually, fire department gets there before us, but it's possible that we could be giving CPR and hand that over to the fire department and stuff like that. What else do I have notes? And then statements. Yeah, we're going to ask you, like, what kind of medication are they taking? Who is their doctor? Did they have final arrangements? We're not really giving a shit about like the will or any of that stuff. That's nothing to do with us. If your two kids come in and they both want to run out with the silverware, like, I'm not stopping anybody. If you want to videotape your brother stealing the silverware and take him to court afterwards, then you could do that. I've even like cleaned people's houses while I was waiting for the coroner. So whatever I can do to, make it easier, I guess. So that's a nutshell.
Yeah, that was a lot. Thank you so much. Both Mom and Randy, did you have anything else you wanted to add to it?
Yeah, just you can kind of smell if they've been deceased for a while. You can see foul play, flies. One of the things me and Molly talked about is the different divisions in LAPD have different, they represent different economic areas. So there's the hood and there's like Hollywood, there's West LA. And what I've seen is in the hood, people don't take the emergency exit. They're usually unalived, or it's involuntary, no longer living. And then for the other side is richer people usually cancel their own tickets.
Isn't that wild too? Because I've seen people where it's like, dude, I wish these were my problems. And
yeah, it's like breakups. Breakups are a big one. Or the holidays. Holidays is another one.
Oh,
yeah,
seasonal depression.
Yeah. In fact, two of my female LAPD officers took the emergency exit, and dang, both of them were just such like cool people that it's almost just like if they had the ability to think afterwards, that they would just be like, what did I do? This was so stupid. Over what?
Yeah. Leyland asked, how might you sense if a death potentially involves foul play if a death looks like it's a result of natural causes? What signs would stand out as suspicious for either of those?
Okay, so I loved death investigations. One, because I always wanted to be a homicide detective. So you got to just get used to sights, smells, and notifications and all that. And so the division got a call, although they were busy and I was already a detective at the time. So my supervisor and I went out to go check out this dude and lived alone. I'm trying to think, like, I don't want to like dime anybody's family out. But anyway, this particular man was supposed to be in court that day. He was testifying against some pieces of shit that broke into his house. He was dating some dumb girl. She like stole a bunch of his money because she was going to open a weed store, and she ends up moving out. And for whatever reason, she gets some assholes that I don't think she knew them very well, but she basically said, he stole all my stuff. And if you could just help me go get everything from the house, that'd be really great. So these dipshits are like, okay, oh yeah, and we can't use the front door. You're going to have to hop the wall and bust the back door down, right? Well, the guy's home. So these gangsters break in, and he shoots them with a shotgun. They take off. He shot one of them in the ass, and one of them in the shoulder. I think there were 3 guys. Anyway, they got caught because even though you drive 4,000 miles away to go to a hospital for your ass, that you're like, oh, what had happened was we were just, riding bikes, hanging out, doing nothing. And all of a sudden we all got shot. Like, oh, okay. Because there was just a report from LAPD that this happened, whatever. So anyway, they get caught. And 400 years later, they're going to go to court that day. And the man doesn't show up at court. Now, sadly enough, the prosecutor said, well, I hope the guy, where's your victim? Because in the city of Los Angeles, if there's nobody to testify against you, sadly enough, a lot of people just go free. So the prosecutor literally made a joke. Well, I hope he's not swinging from a rafter somewhere. Well, wouldn't you know? The neighbor of this man is like, how come this dog is like, come over to my house for food? Like, hey, are you there? Hello, whatever. And goes into the guy's garage, and guess who's swinging from the rafters? So anyway, we get called over there. And to answer your question, Leyland, looking at his house, looking at him, looking at who he was, looking at the circumstances, I can tell you that I don't think that this was his doing. He got kind of a hoarder house. He worshiped his dad, who had been dead for many years, and that bedroom was pristine, untouched, according to the detective that took the initial burglar report. But now it's all fucked up. There's shit all over every surface of every table. He made his own TV guide. He wrote all over the walls in his house with Sharpie, like all kinds of notes and phone numbers and like TV times. The guy writes everything, but you don't write a note. He was a vet. He had access to pew-pews, and he decides to go to the garage and tie a knot. Now, this guy was a fisherman. The man knew how to tie some knots. He had all kinds of lures that were hanging all over this garage. And the knot that he tied for himself was a pile of shit. Like, it was not very effective. I'll leave it at that. And so if I don't know how dark I want to get on this one, but there were things that were done to him that I don't think, and even going back to the station explaining it to the other detectives, if your hands are zip tied behind your back and your legs are zip tied and you have this, I don't want to give out the whole fucking thing, but essentially there's no way to really do it. And he had these big knobby sneakers on. You'd have to do your hands first because you'd have to be able to tighten it from the front and then make it go to the back, because you couldn't get it as tight as it was pulling it. If you pull, you're pulling your wrists away from each other. So you'd have to be able to do it with something else, your teeth, whatever, your feet. And then your feet would have to go through it. And there's just no way to do it. You wouldn't keep your shoes on. Like, there's just 700 other ways in that house that would have been a lot less fucking trouble. And so I'm like, yeah, I don't think this is fucking cool. Also, his phone was like flipped open. And I'm like, people are so used to plugging their phone in all the time. Like, you don't leave it to just like uncharge, whatever, to like dejuice it. And no notes. He had this dining room table full of shit. The top of it had a manila envelope open and it said important papers, and there was fucking nothing in it. And it's like, well, where are the fucking important papers? And there was just like kind of fresh-ish food, but he wasn't fresh. That's a whole other story. And so anyway, it fucking haunts me. But I would say like each one is totally different. There's not really like a handbook that they hand you or like A and B equals C. It really is just looking around. And if you're not sure, like I had a celebrity sister who, she was like my age, and in the bathroom, there were some drugs in the bathtub with her. And, is that intentional, or people overdose all the time on accident? And so if you're not sure, and this one, I did get a commendation on this one because I was like, we don't know. Of course, every loved one always says they would have never done this, or they would have never died naturally. They were healthy as a horse, and like, you need to do everything. We do everything anyway. Yeah. But for that one, I really fought the coroner, and I remember he took a sample of the toilet water, and that ended up being really significant in this case. Because they were trying to say like, oh, somebody like got to her while she was in the bathtub. Like, no, she was already processing a lot of those drugs before she got in the bathtub. So yeah, I think it's really interesting because it's forensics. It's all science. It's like sights and smells and like kind of getting to know like people's lifestyles and stuff. And what's interesting, Randy, this is funny, like, because your shit is like, it's getting dark out there now.
And he's getting swallowed up by the night sky.
The nothing is coming.
Yeah,
Gavin Newsom, turn Randy's electricity back on right now.
I'm so, if you guys could see, I have a light inside of my garbage can. This is so ghetto because of a man with $30 million in one of the. Calm down.
And I think what you guys don't realize is like, because Randy lives in the city of Los Angeles, like his house is worth nearly $1 million, and he's sitting in the dark right now.
Outside.
Yeah, outside. Bro, I'm sorry. Listen, this wouldn't happen if you came and lived with me in Michigan.
So true. It wouldn't happen if my governor wasn't a communist, but I'll continue.
Bro, I don't even know what you guys are doing with that. We got to get rid of him, Trudeau. There's a whole lot that they need to go to the unemployment line.
Well, I'll say there were 2 different murders in my neighborhood. It's a really lovely neighborhood.
Where you live now?
Yeah, people are dealing with stuff.
Suburbia?
But both times it was noticed or caught, because something that you said earlier was the dog was left out.
Yeah.
Those situations, a neighbor was like, this dog was all night. This person always brings their dog in every night. Like they're still out here come the morning. And so that gave it away both times for the police.
Yeah. That's what's so interesting to me about investigations is it's always something real small that sets you off. Southern California, I think it was Southern California, had an abduction of Danielle Van Dam. And they went to go canvass the neighborhood, to go talk to neighbors. And they already had, extra suspects than needed because she didn't come from a normal home. I think the parents were swingers or something. And so they went to this old single guy. Why are you laughing at that? They think they were. It's been a long time since I've looked at this case, but they went to this like old man's house. He wasn't old. He was probably our age, but middle-aged man, like not married, whatever. And the detective said this house was totally immaculate lawn. And like the hose was just left on the lawn. And they just looked at that hose and they were like, that's going to burn a track in the lawn. Look how well he takes care of the front of his house. Why do you leave the hose out? And that opened up a whole can of worms. And that's why they even started to look at him in the first place. Wow. They only knocked on his door to be like, hey, who's going over to, so-and-so's house? Are you seeing people coming and going? But because of the hose, they were like, this isn't normal. And it turned out he was hosing out his entire, he had a motorhome, and her little handprints were upside down on the headboard of the bed. And he did it, and he went to prison for it. There was another case where it was a guy, I want to say he was a rabbi, and he had killed his wife. But anyway, he calls 911, and the first thing he says on the phone is, I just got back from jogging, and my wife is dead. And that was his first sentence. I said, he did it. He did it. Because if you didn't do it, the most important thing that you need to get out to the operator is, my wife, help. My wife is dead. What's going on? I need help. Send somebody. Wait, what's going on? Just send somebody, anybody. What was the first thing he said? His alibi. I was just jogging. I'm like, yeah. And he did do it. So like sometimes it's just something real like little that like sticks to you and you're like, no, this kind of doesn't make sense. I'm going to dig a little bit here. And that happens during the interrogation too, which is like my very favorite part of policing is just talking to people, because I don't think that there are good people and bad people. Good people do bad things. Bad people do good things. And I think everybody has a reason for what they do. And if you can talk to them on a human level and give them that dignity to be able to admit something. But I love talking to people and getting those like little tiny idiosyncrasies that I'm like, that's a bruise and I'm going to poke on it because this is going someplace. Anyway, what the hell were we talking about?
All kinds of things. I want to go to the next question.
Okay.
Oh, we lost Randy. Oh no.
Your first question. So Randy, tell me about
Randy, let's start with you first. Oh my gosh.
Should we just rename this like the loser podcast? Because none of us like seem to have, well, you have your shit together. You have your hands full dealing with Randy and I, because both of us, he doesn't have home internet either. And today I talked to him, I'm like, don't you have like an external charger for your cell phone? Oh yeah, but it's dead. Like, that's why you like keep it plugged in,
I know.
Times like this.
What am I going to do? All right. Well, I'll ask you.
We'll wait for him to come back. He'll figure it out.
We'll ask you the question, see if Randy comes back. So let's talk about, do you remember your very first death investigation, and or you can do both or either, like what was the most, I'll say memorable, but I mean that like more in a dark way. I'll never forget this. This was the worst investigation I was on. Or your first one. You can do both. Here comes Randy.
You look like you're camping, like by a fire or something.
Did you guys get kicked out or just me?
Just you.
No way. Oh, wow.
Yes, sir.
Newsom hates me. Holy
All right, so I had just asked a question. Randy, I was going to go to you first.
Go Randy first.
Yeah.
Please.
So
yes.
The question is, tell us about your very first death investigation, and or the most like memorable one, or the one that made the biggest impact on you.
Actually, I have two for you. So one was Sid's sudden infant death. So a backup came out from the fire department, and I was a brand new cop, so I didn't know the fire department could put out a backup. So my training officer and I arrived, And all of these fire department guys are all these firefighters outside by their fire truck, just chilling and doing like Molly. They're hanging out, laughing, and so we're like, "What's going on?" They're like, "Oh, go to the apartment." So we go to the apartment. There's like 8 or 9 people in there, and I'm like, "Who lives there?" Everyone lives there. So I asked the young lady. My partner, he directed me to get information. He goes, "Get everyone's information." So I'm asking the one young lady. I'm like, "What's your phone number? What's your name?" And Danielle, she's more calm than you. And I'm like, "Who's the mom?" It was that girl. She was in such shock that she was super calm. And I'm like, "What is going on?" She's like, "My phone number is 323-111-213, whatever." I'm like, "Okay." So I go outside and the dad is crying, and I've never heard a person cry like this. And he said, "You know what? She was just alive. Let's go back and check on her. Let's go see if she's okay." And his friend is comforting him, and they're like in this corner, and it's just super eerie. And that was my first one. My second one so that one already messed me up. Like cops, it doesn't matter. The hardest cop in the world, we cannot stand seeing dead children children that have passed or babies. The second one was a young black man who he was visiting this older lady who he wasn't even related to. So she's black, he's black. So I thought they were related. He's like, well, he didn't say anything. I mean, she was telling me, yeah, he comes and he visits me for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. So it's like the 26th. So he had missed Christmas. My partner goes, "Go check out the car." He's in the car. And I'm like, the deceased guy's in the car? So I'm looking at the car, Danielle, and none of the windows are broken, like from bullet hole. Yeah. And I was like, this guy got shot and there's no bullet holes. So I open the door and he's in there and he's got a bullet hole in his head. And I look at the door, there's a bullet hole in the door. What messed me up with that one was he ducked and the bullet hit him in the head. Had he not ducked, it would have hit him in the knee. That one messed me up so bad that I'm from New York. I used to be stylish. I used to wear nice clothes. Everything this guy had on was immaculate. Like he just had on the nicest clothes. His car was pristine. And I'm like, none of that matters anymore. This guy's not with us anymore. So I actually had to go see somebody about that. Like that one really messed me up. One last one. This one's a little more humorous. So a young girl, she goes to school. She stays at school all day and she goes to her friend's house and she looks inside her book bag and there's an emergency exit note inside of her book bag. So she calls for what Molly said, a welfare check. We go over and it's super eerie. It's making all this weird noise. There's like this machine going. It's like, roar, 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 roar. And I'm like, what is that? So I tell my partner, can you smell that? And it's this weird, I can't even describe the smell. So we put on our bandanas. Like what cops will do is they'll either have cigarettes or they'll have bandanas that they soak in perfume or cologne. So we put ours on and mine smelled like a gym sock. So I'm like, somebody definitely not with us. I can smell it. No, you can smell your bandana, homeboy. So we go in there, it's making the noise, you can smell whatever. We check the garage, there's no car in there, it's just like weird machinery in there, and it's going, it's making that noise. We check the bedroom, there's no one on the bed, and my partner goes, check the other side of the bed. And she's laying on the floor, completely naked. And we're not supposed to move bodies, but he was like, if she's not, she's gonna be if we don't get her out of this house. And I'm like, all right. So I grab her legs, he grabs her arms. And as we're bringing her out, he's like, we're gonna switch, you pervert, because I don't know what you're looking at. I'm like, dude, she's a dead body. You think I'm looking at her? But anyways, we switched. So we're walking her out and she opens her eyes and I freaked out and dropped her. She hit her head again. the good news, Danielle, she was alive. And when FD came, the fire department came. They're like, "You perverts! Why'd you guys bring her outside?" They covered her up. She's like, "You guys are my heroes." To the fire department.
Yeah.
And they're looking at us like we're the bad guys. I'm like, we didn't do anything wrong except maybe Molly can tell us. Maybe you can't move the body. I mean, she was in a dangerous life or death situation. I mean,
Move the body. Like, she's alive.
Yeah.
Don't draw a chalk outline where she's going to die. Get her the fuck out of there.
So, Danielle, 2 out of my 3 death investigations were one person was alive.
Wow.
The first,
before we get too carried away, I got to say hi to Kim on YouTube. This is so exciting. I am like totally at least 1989 level of like technology right now. And I can actually see the chat. So Kim, howdy. Here's your shout out. Why does he have no lights? Governor Gavin Newsom out of California is doing these rolling brownouts where he intentionally turns off your electricity for the day. And this is a state that has more money than any other freaking state. And this is what they do to people who own a $1 million house. They shut your electricity off. Everything in his fridge right now is basically rotten. It's just like, and this has been going on. How many times this month would you say that your electricity has been yanked on you?
Oh, how many times this month?
Mm-hmm.
Hang on. Where's my calculator? 8, 9, 10 times. So this is the second time I'm buying groceries.
Oh my God.
I know boo-hoo, but I'm outside doing this with a garbage can and a flashlight. So that's more to answer his question.
Randy has, you know.
This is the thing with California, though, Randy. I feel like you guys are slowly boiling frogs, and it's just a little hotter every day. And at some point, you're going to jump from it too.
Yeah.
Randy and I are going to talk a lot about LAPD and why we're no longer with LAPD next week. So I don't want to spoil any of that shit, but there's some juicy tidbits that we'll talk about next week. But yeah, it's, you say the fire department, like obviously I work for the fire department now, but I got a couple of commendations from the fire department, like just royally fucking up, including with a little old man. Little old vet. He was 1,000 years old. He fell between the dresser and his wall. He got like wedged. He was naked trying to go into the shower. He lost his footing. Old people do. And so he was like screaming for help for 12 hours until the neighbor downstairs in this tiny little shithole apartment building calls 911 and says, "Can you go upstairs and tell him to be quiet? He's really loud. He's been calling for help for 12 hours. That was the radio call we got. Fire department doesn't go anywhere without us going and clearing it first. Doors cracked. We find him. There are walk-in closets that are bigger. In fact, I did a story on Mark Wahlberg's walk-in closet. It's on my YouTube, and it might be on my Rumble. But anyway, he's there, and so we get him. I call the fire department just to make sure, because I don't want to yank him wrong. Like, I haven't been to medical school. Like, I don't want to hurt this guy. You've been there for 12 hours. Just wait another 2 minutes. I hear him coming up the street right now. And so they come with all this attitude and say, she just needs us to, like, move him. Yes, sir, I do, because I don't know if you're going to, like, yank him wrong. Hollywood, I don't know if we did that call together, Randy, but there was a girl who got in a fight with her boyfriend, and she was like, "I'm going to go screw this other guy," whatever. And so she takes off and with this guy, and they break into an apartment building, and they're having sex on a balcony, and she falls over, and she's like crawling. And so the guy that she met at the club was like, "I'm out." So he leaves, and she knocks on somebody's door, and she's 8 kinds of trashed. And so the people give her all these saltine crackers. Was that us?
Yes.
Together? It was?
I think she fell in the car. Fell out the window.
No, she was in this like atrium area of an apartment building and falls over, and they give her these saltine crackers, and they're just like fucking all over. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, well, you're a hot mess. So we did not move her. Fire department came. They took her to the hospital. And by the time we went to the hospital to go get her statement, because the boyfriend had found her or something, and was alleging that she was raped, and she was like, no, I did it because I wanted to, like, just like so drunk. But anyway, during the transport from where we saw her crawling down the hallway with the saltines to being in the hospital, she was paralyzed. Like they pulled something wrong, or she had some kind of injury that got exacerbated going to the hospital. And so like that was totally in my mind with this old man. And so, and I remember pulling that guy in the hallway with the girl, and he was like, she's paralyzed. I don't know how does that, like, what's happening? Like, he's like, that's my fiance. I'm like, I just have to have a heart to heart with you, dude, real quick. You are not connected to that for the rest of your life right at this moment. And if this is how she acts when she's drunk, having sex with other people, and now she's a medical mess for the rest of her life, you don't need to sign up for that. I don't know if he did. He probably did. Guys love fucking drama. But anyway. So with this little old man, call the fire department out. I'm like, no, you move him. Like, I don't, want to be responsible for that, whatever. And so they put him in a chair. He only has one chair. His apartment is one room with a bathroom, no kitchen. He's got like a little baby fridge and a microwave. And he had tripped over a trash can. And so he's sitting down. He's got no skin on his shoulder, his elbow, his knee, the forearm on the other side. And like, because your skin just comes off like nothing when you're that old. And so the fire department had walked out, I guess, because the guy was naked. So like all the dudes left, and it's the girl's job to go find his little panties and put them on him for him, for his, for modesty, whatever. And I said to him, why don't you let him come back in? I know you don't want to go to the hospital, that you're a tough guy. Cause he was like, oh no, I just needed to be helped up. I totally get that. And I want to honor whatever it is that you want, but why don't you just let him, because this place was a fucking mess. And I said, why don't you just let him clean all of that and bandage it so that you don't have any complications and you don't have to go to the hospital later for an infection. Just let him clean it. Okay, I guess they could do that. So I turned to my partner, who's like outside in the hallway. It's like me and this old man naked together. Like, it was very just like, bro, why am I being left here alone? So I was like, hey, call him back in just to like clean him up. And he was like, they left. What do you mean they left? He has muscle hanging out. How do you just leave and leave an obvious patient before you know like what's... So anyway, he's like, do you want me to call him back? Yes, I do. So this time they show up, and instead of like their little fishing tackle box and all this shit, they have like one dude, and they were acting all full of attitude. Only one of them comes in. The rest of them stay like in the outside hallway, sort of whatever, balcony area. And I was like, if you can just, make sure that they're covered and clean. So he takes the ace bandage and he wraps it around the guy's forearm. He didn't clean anything. So you're just trapping the filth of this guy's apartment. I was so pissed off. And he grabs the little old man's arm and he grabs the ace bandage, and he's trying to use the man's arm and the ace band to rip the ace bandage because he didn't bring in scissors or anything. Jesus. And the little old man says, that's a lot of pressure. And I'm like, hey, like, stop. Like, it hurts him. He didn't say it hurts him. Well, that's old man speak for it hurts. That's a lot of pressure is like tough guy speak. So he throws the rest of the roll in the fucking chair. I must have talked shit about those firefighters to everybody at the station. I was so pissed off. So they left, and he was like, he was going to take a shower. And I was like, why don't you've been through a lot today. Why don't you just lay down and go to bed? Let me get you some food. He wanted an Ensure and a Coca-Cola, and I cleaned up his room, and I made him a lot of space so that he could go to the bathroom later and not fall again. And moved his trash can and moved like all the, garbage so that he had a little trail going through his place, and got him to bed. And I said, before we go, is there anything else that I can do for you? And he said, well, it was right before Christmas. He says, if you wouldn't mind, my daughter lives in Georgia, and if you could just get me a Christmas card to send her. And I was like, yeah, it's like 2:00 in the morning right now. We're off at 5. But yeah, if we have time, free time. And I was working with a really cool guy, Eric Barrera. If we have time, and Eric was like a hard charger. He wasn't the kind of guy who wants to go shopping for fucking Christmas cards at 3 a.m. But he did take me to the grocery store. Now, I get called, and we got him a card, and we brought it back, and he was asleep, and he didn't have any blankets on, and I could see that he shit the underwear that I put him in, but he rolled over, he acknowledged me, and he went back to sleep. And I was like, I'm just going to close the door. I know it's hot, but like, I don't want anybody coming in your apartment. So I'm just going to close the door. So I closed the door for him. And so then I get called for an investigation from the fire department. This story is taking too long. But anyway, this battalion chief, I don't know what she was like interviewing me. And she was like trying to jam me over this shit. Like, so, you called the fire department? Yes, I did. Because he had open wounds. You could see the muscle, like large pieces of his skin were gone. And I was told by my sergeant, don't cause any problems. Just, fire department sucks, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, this is wrong. Like, I'm not here to like leave a trail of fire, but this fucking old man fought for our goddamn country. And this is how you treat him. Like for a lot of cops, it's babies and kids. That's your thing. For me, it's old people. A baby doesn't have an awareness that you're acting snarky or that you could have done more or that you're grabbing their arm to rip a fucking ace bandage and that there's a million other ways to do it. For me, it's old people. Like, so anyway, she's like, oh, well, I see on your log, because you keep a log of like, we went here and we talked to this person, and then we went to this call and talked to this person. We went here and we didn't see anyone, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I see on your log that you returned later. Do you want to tell us about that? And like the way she was acting so cunty about it, I was like, wow, I didn't do anything wrong. So I said, well, I mean, this is kind of embarrassing, but before I left the first time, I cleaned his house and I gave him his dinner and I asked him if there was anything else I could do. And he asked to go get me a Christmas card. And I went to the grocery store because it was the only place open. And they had these ones that were like already pre-stamped. So the man wouldn't have to go buy stamps. He could just go mail it. And I found like the best cards with like the saddest Santa on it. Cause I really wanted his daughter to like get a hold of him. I don't know how often they talk and stuff, but I just wanted her to know, like, your dad's alone in Los Angeles in some shithole apartment. And so anyway, I still had the receipt for it. And it was like a pack of 10 or something. And it was like 37 cents less than I had in my pocket. And so I bought the cards for him. And so when I opened the door, I just put him down on the little stool next to his bed. And I closed the door for him to make sure that he was safe at night. And this fucking bitch, she now has like tears in her eyes. And she says to me, I wish you worked for me. I'm like, well, that's a fucking damn shame, but I'm not looking to work for you guys. If this is how I got 2 combinations that same week for the fire department fucking up and me saving that shit. The other one was a gas leak. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. It's so she said, do you want to know what happened with the little man? He died that night. And it's so heartbreaking because like, I was probably the last person to see him. And could I have done more? Like, a man is allowed to be in his house and shitting himself. So, you know.
You were the last person to show him kindness. And
yeah, I guess. I mean, he was a nice old man. And I'm like, God, I guess like it haunts me because I'm like, his daughter lived in Atlanta, I think. Mm-hmm. She never got that card. She never knew that like he was thinking about her.
Gosh, that's sad.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk more about death.
Yeah. Any other Christmas cheer we'd like to spread at this time of year? For those watching this 6 months from now, it's Christmas time right now.
I have one for you, Danielle. There was this guy. He met this girl. They went on one date. So he goes. She's like, "I'm not interested." So he goes, "No, you're interested." She beats him up, throws him down the stairs, throws his gun away, which he bought for the second date, which she didn't want to go on. Throws him in the bushes. I don't know what kind of martial arts she knew or he didn't know. So he goes back to his house and he's like, "I'm serious about this. If you don't get with me, I'm gonna delete myself." And this guy had this tiny apartment, which was the weirdest thing because he had a maid. And I mean, he lived in like a studio, but I don't know if he was like related to Saudis or something. Anyways, he takes his pew pew and puts it up to his noodle, and it's not like in the movies where you hold somebody in front of you and it catches bullets.
Yeah.
Because it went through this side, this side.
Oh,
That's Gavin Newsom calling me.
The power's about to come back on. Get ready.
Yeah, in about 3 days. So it goes through the wall, and it the angle changes, and it goes through the next little studio. And because the guy next door broke up with his girlfriend, oh, and this is all on Valentine's Day. Because he broke up with his girlfriend, he wasn't at the piano where he usually plays songs. And we could tell from the trajectory because we saw where the bullet landed, we saw the bullet hole. And he would have been there and he would have gotten deleted. So one guy broke up with his girlfriend. He's no longer with us. The other guy broke up with his girlfriend. And I shouldn't say girlfriend. He was stalking some girl. But the two breakups on Valentine's Day had two different results. So it's weird stuff like that. That just
chills. That's crazy.
Yeah. I've never heard that story she just told. I've never heard that story. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, I think about that little man. I don't know. I don't remember his name, but I love old people. My grandma was like my favorite person ever, and there were a lot of people that showed her a lot of kindness that I'm very grateful to.
I'm so glad to hear that.
I did have another little old man, and so this is a stupid story, but at least it'll make me laugh. A lot of people die on the toilet. It's just a fact of life. So this was a house that was like nestled in a little canyon, and cute little old house that they probably bought beautiful in the 60s, and it had just like stayed perfect, all those years. And very nice wife. And her husband was sitting on the toilet, and then he fell forward, and that's how she found him. He was too heavy, so we go. And we're not going to move anybody. It's beyond the ability to resuscitate him. So we're just waiting, and I'm helping her. She wanted me to like move a treadmill down to the basement, like all this stuff, and like change all these light bulbs, do all this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll do anything. If I'm busy and you're thinking about projects and not thinking about all the terrible stuff, grief takes its time, whether you start today or tomorrow. So anything that helps. But anyway, we're waiting a long time for the coroner because sometimes they have like multiple people. And of course, you're going to go, if you're the coroner, they're going to go to the person who's dead in the middle of an intersection so that intersection could open before the little old man safely in his bathroom. So they're taking forever, and I have to pee so bad. And so I ended up having to like step over the old man. And then like, first of all, our uniform is like a 35-pound wool and leather puzzle anyway. So like, it's really difficult to like have to pee at all. You guys are easy. You have like an escape hatch, like girls don't. So like you have to like hold everything up while you're like doing this. It's just crazy. Anyway, so it's awkward enough without having a dead guy like right in front of you. And so I'm like trying to pee in their toilet, like looking at this little old man's like tiny little butt. And I'm just like, this is the worst.
Molly, oh my God.
Yeah. That was terrible. I probably should have gone to a neighbor's, but I mean, it was like, it was obviously they were going to take samples of this toilet, right? But yeah, I just remember looking at that little old man's tiny little butt while I'm like holding my gun up, trying to like pee in his toilet.
Oh my God, you're cracking your sister up. She's in the feed.
Oh no. Molly peed with a dead man. Yes, I did. I peed over a dead man.
Oh gosh, okay.
Danielle, you want one more light one?
Oh, yes, I do.
You know what? Actually, it's not light. It's just me. I wasn't the smartest cop. Anyways, it was what's called a TC, traffic collision.
Okay.
And the guy's motorcycle's right there. His dad is there crying. And I asked my
Do some squeezing.
It's not. Shut his lights off and let's keep calling him. Anyways, his motorcycle's right there. He's right there laying down. And I asked my partner, I go, who's that guy? She's like, oh, that's the dad. I'm like, why is he crying? She's like, because his helmet's over there. And I'm like, so? She said, but his body's over there. I'm like, oh. His head was in his helmet. And it took me same response. Yeah. So.
I don't know how. You both are made of tougher material than me.
No, I'm taking medication.
People have to take medication to hang out with me.
I know I did back in the day.
I'm going to be the last cockroach left on this godforsaken planet.
I believe that.
As a matter of fact, the Rona is going around again. And the amount that people want me to get sick is very disturbing. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe you need to just like eat more sunflower seeds. That seems to work for me. Have you tried Taco Bell? It's very good. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. Let's see. When you've gone to these death investigations, were there any situations where there were families you didn't feel bad for?
Yeah, there was one guy who got, it's called a failure drill, 2 in the chest, 1 in the head. And that's what he received. And his friend received 1 in the leg.
When he says 1, he means a bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't want to, So, like an idiot brand new cop, I said, Mr. Failure Drill is no longer with us. And the family was inside of the hospital waiting room. So they're all screaming and they're going crazy. They're like, oh my God, he's no longer with us. So my partner grabs me. She's training me. She goes, no, you idiot. It's the one who got shot in the leg. And I'm like, you get shot in the leg and the guy who got all of the bullets, he survived. So I go back in there and I'm like, good news, guys. It wasn't the other guy. It was the other guy. So everyone, it started a little mini riot at the hospital. Like, you idiot cop, you got the wrong person. And then you come in here and say, no, it's our family member. So.
Good news.
Good news. It's your.
Yeah, you do. You have to be very careful when you have victims that live, because there are members of the gang that want to go and finish the job, and it's a whole thing.
So
I had
Molly
one of those in Pacific
Division right there.
that was ugly as fuck, and we showed up right then. People were still running and screaming in the street, like when we pulled up. And there's this guy in this purple Cadillac, and he's fucking not good. He's got agonal breathing, which is that gasping, death rattle kind of thing. And his fellow gang member is in the car, like trying to get in the driver's seat with him, like, Smurf, come on, it's Baby Snake, come on, you're dying, man, you're dying. And I just remember thinking, like, don't tell him that he's dying. Like, your body can go through so much. If you think that you can make it, you can overcome, and you're literally killing your friend right now. And so anyway, he gets pulled out and they're doing CPR, but CPR is not going to do anything. If you are a bucket of holes, all that's doing is sending your vital juices out of your body. So there wasn't anything they could do for that guy. But that's a whole long story. But anyway, they started some shit and it backfired on them. And I knew that something was up at the scene. And so, resources are so tight with LA. But I called the watch commander and I said, listen, we need to do a follow-up because based off this, that, and the other, like, I think I know what happened. And I ended up being right. And so I was just a stupid, lowly, brand new officer. I was actually on loan from Hollywood Division when all that shit went down with you, Randy. And so I got a commendation that week and I sent it to Hollywood Division to let them know I'm good. But we're going to talk about that whole fucking Hollywood issue next week. If you guys care about cop stuff, next week's going to be pretty juicy. But yes.
let's see. You guys have answered a lot of the other questions throughout your stories.
Okay.
I'm going to go to this question, and you kind of touched on this a little, Randy, with the medication. Is that how has seeing all this death changed the way you think about life?
I appreciate it a lot more. Like I think about, it's not so much the dead person for me, it's the daughter that's in Georgia, the whole story that surrounds whatever person it is. And just so people know, the other story I just told, the reason I take it light is because of what Molly said. They live that gangster lifestyle. So in those situations, I'm just going to say, Dan, I don't care. Like, if you want to play those games, you win those prizes. But way more appreciation for life. Like my God. And I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or I'm farther away. And I do have to tell you guys something about cops. They really care, but they have to work tomorrow. So if I'm breaking down today, I'm not going to be any good to you tomorrow. So when you see them laughing at a death investigation, they're not laughing at your loved one. They have to separate themselves so that tomorrow they can come in and do the same thing again. So that's my takeaway from my death.
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit what makes us like different than a cashier at the Rite Aid. Like, I think that cops and military have to have a really good balance of compassion and callousness. And so when we have this like dark humor, or we talk about dark shit, or go, oh fuck man, I guess that guy's done. It's not because we don't care. It's because we do care, but we need to be the person that is still able to function through it, to get all of the emotional part of the family crying and the active shooting and gangsters still running and prostitutes screaming, and like all of the chaos of the scene has to just not be what we're focused on, because we need to function. So I would say that compassion and callousness is, it's a tricky cocktail. And I don't know that everybody is capable of that. So if you don't have both, I don't think that you're a very good officer. But
yeah, I pretty much remember all of my death investigations. And sometimes it's just the way people died. Like, you wasn't supposed to be there, or there was one young man, he got shot 7 times. And the situation was what Molly said. He got shot 4 times, and his friend passed on, and he realized, if I don't freak out and I don't think negative thoughts, I can survive this. So he's breathing deep, and I go talk to him at the hospital. He's 17 years old. He's got 7 bullet holes in his back, and he's telling the nurse, no, put the gauze over here. Here's how you're supposed to do it. And then he's talking to me, and I'm like, dude, how did you survive? Like, cops get a paper cut and they die, and you've been shot 7 times. And he told me all the things I just told you. So
yeah, I had this one emergency exit. This one kind of pisses me off. It was some kind of like Cato Kalin type, right? So he's this guy who's just like flopping at his friend's house, like, I'm gonna live here for free with my fucking dog, and just a kind of a selfish guy who wasn't really getting his life together. And so he decided one day that he's going to take this emergency exit, and he goes to the dry cleaner with these white silk Chinese like Shongsam like pajamas, like fresh from the dry cleaner, in the little plastic baggie, puts it over the chair with this dramatic like, this is what I want to be buried in, these like perfect, pristine white silk Chinese pajamas. And then he goes into his friend's bathtub, and with a pew makes a large mess of tile and plumbing and, and friend. And it's like, fuck you, dude. You were living here for free. And now you want me to make sure that you're in your beautiful white jammies. Like, it doesn't matter how beautiful and white the jammies are. Anything sticking out of the jammies is like, your idea of being beautiful is like gone. I think a lot of women get that idea. Oh, I'm going to take all these pills and I'm going to look like Marilyn Monroe on my pillow. Like, you literally die from shitting and throwing up. Like, it's not the beautiful situation. Like, whatever you're going through, reach out to me, reach out to, an officer. If you don't like that officer, tell him to get another one there. It's way too fucking important. I've seen people die over bullshit. And your life is more important than that. And if you don't gel with your therapist or your boyfriend or your cop or what, find somebody else and keep going down the list, because not everybody's the same. Not everybody comes to this job like Randy and I did. And, I forgive people that are fucking assholes in this world, but that's the reality of it. And just find somebody else that wants to help you, because like the pajamas aren't going to solve your fucking problem, bro.
Well, I kind of wanted to add something to that. Like, a lot of cops took the emergency exit because there's this belief system with Border Patrol, veterans, military. They believe they have a purpose and they're serving their purpose. And then when they see, damn, look at this corruption or look at this wrongdoing, and they just take the exit. And it's kind of what Molly said. Don't do it. Just one more day. Just wait until tomorrow. And then when tomorrow comes, wait until tomorrow. And when that next day comes, wait again. I went through hell for 7 years. And there was another cop who went with me, and he took himself out day one. Like, he was just like, I'm not doing this. And he exited. And it's like Molly said, I'm complaining about being outside in a $700,000 house. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's going to get better. The sun's going to shine again. Newsom's not always going to be the governor. My point is, just don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, I like what Chickaboom says. It's a permanent solution for a temporary problem. Like, bro, what if this world is like Groundhog Day and you have to relive your last day over and over again, and you just pulled the plug on your worst day ever, and now you have to relive that fucking day?
Yeah. You never know what tomorrow will bring. Look at all, as we come.
Look at us. Like, I moved to another state. I completely reinvented myself. I work for the other side now. And we'll tell that story next week.
Yes.
But like, nobody says you have to be the same person tomorrow. Like, shave your head. Like, go fuck a hobo on a bus bench. Like, whatever the fuck you want to do.
Speaking of resolutions, that's one of mine.
That's your New Year's resolution? To fuck a hobo?
It was a bus stop, not a park. But it's
hobos. Danielle's phone number is area code 949.
But yeah, as we come to the end of this year, a lot of people can reflect, even if whether you had a shitty year or a good year, like you have a whole new year to make change and create new memories, make positive changes, reinvent yourself, do all this stuff. We have a lot of questions in the chat. And Kim asked what's my background if I was also a cop. I am not a cop, but I play one on TV. There's also another question here that Kim asked is, have you ever experienced the feeling of a ghost or spirit when you arrived at someone's house that someone has passed? Have you ever had any kind of like supernatural experience at a death scene?
For me, at my house, it had nothing to do with death investigation. I was dating a girl, and her son was on my couch, and she and I are in my room. We weren't doing anything, but I heard him get up. I heard him open the front door. I heard him take the car keys and leave. She opens the door. He's sitting on the couch, and she's like, "I thought you just took the car and left." He was like, "No, I was taking a nap." So, yeah.
There's a ghost,
on
right?
Yeah, too bad it's at my house. So, but at a scene, it's horrific enough seeing some of the stuff you see. So,
yeah.
No, I haven't. I'm totally open to it, but I don't know if it's because I have such a scientific mindset. It's not for a lack of paying attention to shit. I'll tell you that. But no, nothing creepy.
Not yet. So, more serious question. Someone asked, so many chats in here. It says, Leland asks, how do police officers find the time to process and grieve after you have these investigations?
Good question, Leland. So I know with adrenaline and that initial shock of shit, it's like if the bear jumps out and then you find out it's not a bear, it was really your friend in a bear costume. Like that fright is still there and it spikes your cortisol and it does all this terrible stuff for you and makes you die early and everything. And so cops really have to manage that. And I mean, it sounds really callous, but if you see cops like doing push-ups on the fucking side of the road, it's usually because some shit just happened and like they just have to, like, exercise is a really great way to just clear the slate and be like, all right, now what are we going to do? But yeah, I don't know. I think sense of humor is kind of how we deal with stuff.
We kind of give each other therapy. So at the end of the night, Molly will be getting coffee. I'll pull up with my partner and she'll say, so what'd you get? And what that means is, how was your day? What'd you see today? And I'm like, oh, I seen an old man, his little butt as I peed next to him. Oh, here's what I got. A naked porn star who was actually alive. And we'll laugh and we'll go home. And that's why you see that camaraderie with the, that blue line stuff is not about corruption. It's about shared trauma, shared happiness, just a shared life of policing. So that's a big part of it.
Yeah. And also just having a lot of empathy for other people. I remember one time I had this lady who took the exit and it's a long story, but we were about to leave. Everything was done, but we were leaving her husband home alone and the two kids were coming home from school. And even though we were out of the house, so I'm not allowed to just barge in and do whatever I want, I came in and said to the husband, like, would you mind if I just went back in there one time just so that I can close those doors? The wife was gone, but from what you would see from the front door, like, I just didn't want that to be his entry back into his house and those little kids that are coming home. And I don't know. I think one thing that's different about cops, and I don't know that I was necessarily like this beforehand, but we foresee a lot. It's like I have, when you're not working as a team, or like, let's say I did a lot of retail jobs before. If I'm carrying a box, walking up to a door, everybody's just going to stand there and watch me like set the box down, open the door, hold the door with my butt, pick up the box, try to figure it out. Whereas like being a firefighter now and being a cop is like you see somebody walking towards that door, whether it's somebody you work with or just like, you know, a mom walking with the stroller and like you're already running ahead because you foresee they're going to have trouble with the door. And so I think that we're maybe like a little bit more interconnected, like, or maybe more aware that we're interconnected with other people than other people who are just in their phones and up their own asses and don't pay attention to stuff.
Yes.
And empathy is a big one. This cop, he called, he said, there's a guy in a car. He's he can't breathe. He's got a gunshot wound to his chest. So when we got there was about 20 cops who had surrounded the car and the cops didn't shoot him. Some gangsters, they were leaving a party and the car got shot up and the kid got shot and he's just gasping for breath and he's gone. And I just remember behind me, don't laugh. He's a person too. And I'm like, I'm not laughing. And I turn around, it's this detective. And he goes, that's somebody's son, that's somebody's brother, that's somebody's family.
Yeah.
So I get back to the station and I'm not talking to the mom. Somebody's telling me that's her fourth son. All three of her other sons have been killed. And that was the last one. They were gangsters, but that's a mom who lost her last son.
Yeah.
Terrible. Well, let me tell you a little bit of what we don't do at the scene. We're not digging for your important papers, settling disputes over who gets the car keys or who gets to sleep there tonight or whatever. We don't read the will. We're not calling the attorney. We're not waiting for the attorney. We are not going to use our resources to crack your safe, to find out what was in Granny's whatever. We don't collect the clothes for the funeral home. We're not taking rings off of people. So I'd like to say we do everything, but there are things that we don't do. But I did have some tips for the families.
Yes.
If you have a DNR, make sure that everyone you've ever met has a copy of that DNR, because we are mandated to help. And we assume everybody wants to live. And you can have DNR tattooed across your shit. And, that could mean dogs need rescuing. Like, you just never know. So just because you have it doesn't mean that we're not going to give care. So make sure your doctor has it. Make sure that anybody that cares for you knows where it is. And important papers, let somebody know where all that stuff is. My dad keeps a clipboard with all of his passwords, and we all know where the clipboard is. And so that if anything was to happen, like, my mom can still log into everything and figure out how to be an adult at 400 years old, because she's never had to pay the bills. But that's not the time to totally upend the house, especially if the investigation is ongoing. So don't call anybody over before we get over. I mean, think about Jean Benet is a very interesting case, and I'd love to do a whole episode on her.
Yes.
But think about that from the perspective of, let's say the family was totally innocent and didn't do nothing, but they let all these people into their house that have now used a cup and sat on the couch and did all the shit and moved things and opened doors and all of the stuff. And a lot of that hustle and bustle was like, well, now where do we begin? We actually found her in the house, and now what? Your loved ones are more important than the friends coming over. If you need a friend to come over, tell them to stay the fuck outside. And that was something that we learned with the OJ case too, although that was before Randy and I came on. You have a lot of looky-loos in your scene, people who just want to come in and go, oh man, I heard it's bad, whatever. And they want to come and look at your shit. And when I went to homicide school, they said, just tell the officers, great, if you want to come be a looky-loo, cool. I just need you to leave your boots here so that I know whose shoes made what impression. So make sure that you leave your boots here before you leave. And then nobody wants to come into your scene. Because that was the whole thing with the OJ thing. And that was on Bundy or Barrington. I forgot which house, if she lived on Bundy or Barrington. But had Mexican tile sidewalk sort of outside, and that was all part of the investigation, because there were all these like footprints there, and which boots are the detective and which boots are the getaway and all that stuff. So you definitely don't want people in your fucking crime scene. Not that there's cops learning how to be a cop by watching.
Yeah. They have a new documentary out on Netflix on Jean Benet, and I watched it. And one of the things that stood out to me is that they were trying to find the daughter. They didn't know where she was, and then the whole family and cops were in the house, and they're like, everybody split up and see if we can find her. And I'm like, why would you do that? And then the father supposedly,
and then the dad is like, let me go to the basement that nobody goes to for any fucking, oh look, she's behind this door that nobody could open earlier.
Here she is. Let me remove her from the scene and bring her to another part of the house.
I would love to talk about Jean Benet another time. I just gave away all my Jean Benet books to a local bookstore, but oh well. I kind of remember some. And Robert Durst, that one's a fucking fascinating one. And then also like a list of who you want to contact. Like my dad's like, oh, make sure you get a hold of my friend Jim. Like, you have a friend? Like, how am I 50 and I didn't know you had a friend?
We play Pinochle every Friday. He has to know when I
call Jim.
I know.
Jim, Dad. And then like get rid of shit that like nobody wants. Just to make it that much easier, But some of us don't know when we're gonna go, and some of us have 100 years worth of fucking notice, but it's all gonna happen to us eventually. I did want to go on a slight rant when it comes to homicide school.
Uh-oh. Put your rant glasses on, Molly.
Don't think I don't have rant glasses. Listen, I got rant glasses. I want to talk about the body donation program when people donate their bodies. Because it is such a scam and it can screw over you and your family. And if you were a victim of a crime or medical malpractice, it is no friend. There have been so many people that have been declared brain dead that need a full recovery because they had some family member in the hospital saying, no, I don't want to donate their body. But the vast majority of people get like kind of eased into it. They have these like brokers that come to the hospital and go and like talk to you and go, you know, I'm sure somewhere out there, there's a 18-year-old football star that lost his kidney in an accident, saving a baby from a fire, and you would want your loved one's kidney to live on. Just sign these papers right here. It won't cost you anything and you'll save lives. Fuck you. They need to be more transparent. One, you and your family don't get anything for it. And the vast majority of these bodies are donated to big pharma to try out all kinds of medication that they're hoping to make $1 billion off of, and you don't get shit for your body. And the average body makes $250,000 because you're selling this piece and that piece, and they will just carve everything up and then look around and go, who's getting what? Who wants this? Do you want one? Do you want anybody? I had a friend who got a heart transplant, and he had to be on this medication because at any moment you might get this heart. And they called him and they were like, hey, there's a big motorcycle rally in Arizona this weekend. So make sure that you're ready. Because, a lot of motorcycle guys, are trying to drive crazy. And so they would get donors that weekend. But they get $250,000 per cadaver. And I went to homicide school in like 2012. So with Bidenflation, it's probably a smidge larger. And they target people that are old, that are kind of sitting on like their last days and just going like, gosh, I wish I could contribute more to this life and feel better about, like leaving a legacy. And like, oh yes, you want to donate, don't you? You want to save lives. The oldest donor was 107 years old from Scotland, I think. Who the fuck wants a 107-year-old kidney or heart, cataract, fucking whatever? It's made out of dust. Like, 100. And I see working at the fire department now, because I get I call it for cash for corpses, but I get all the cash for corpses like requests where they want to get the report that we found you completely overdosed on heroin behind the fucking Lowe's. And now you're going to carve those bits up and put them inside like my healthy 18-year-old football hero. And now he's going to get a heart that's already OD'd on heroin. Like, what the fuck? They will carve up anyone. They don't give a shit. And it's just so, I know, I'll put my glasses back on, all right? But this stuff, it makes so much money, and the funeral homes will get kickbacks and commissions. The hospitals will, with these brokers that are selling you off. But another angle that I want to tell you is, let's say that you were poisoned. In fact, one of the women that was declared brain dead, it was a medical malpractice, and they had overdosed her on some medication, and she had a history of a lot of medication. And so they came to her mom, and they were pushing the mom hard, like, you want to do the right thing, don't you? You want to do the right thing. And the mom's just like, I don't know, I'm grieving. Like, I feel like maybe she'll come back. She's not coming back. She's brain dead. She's in a coma. She can't hear. She can't see. And the woman is in this coma, and she's like, I'm right here. No, I need my organs. And she's like, she can hear everything that's going on. And so anyway, the mom was like, no, fuck you, pound sand. And she made a full recovery. There was a 13-year-old kid in Alabama, Trenton, I think was his name. And the doctors were talking over him, saying like, he's a vegetable. And the kid laughed. He's like, I don't really feel like a vegetable. And like, he was alive, and they were declaring these people brain dead. Understand, brain death was a term coined by Harvard in 1968 I'm very passionate about this. I'll just keep my glasses on.
I see. I know.
I feel like Alex Jones right now. The fucking frogs. So it was a term coined in 1968 by Harvard so the second ever transplant was done in America on 2 babies. And they had a baby that was mentally not going to be the most functioning, awesome, great baby in the entire world. And they were like, well, that baby doesn't deserve to live. And look at this other baby that needs a heart. So let's kill this baby by taking its heart, and we'll give it to this baby that's more viable. We want this baby. And so what they ended up doing was both babies were gone. And so they went to Harvard, like you do when you're guilty of homicide. And they were like, help us out. Help us, figure out like how we can get more people to donate so we can do more of the shit. And so they came up with several iterations of it, but essentially brain death. And there was no such thing as brain death prior to 1968. And it's all part of this like weird megalomania, like Frankenstein shit where they're like, what if we do this? And what if we cut this off and put it over here, and all this crazy shit that people are trying to do to the human body right now. But there are so many people that they got badly injured, but they made a full recovery. There was a guy in Texas who fell off an ATV and got his head crushed. Wear your helmets, kids. And they were ready. They were going to carve everything. And the dad was ready for it, but the dad was just like, man, and he had a pocket knife and he just ran it up the foot of his son. And the kid pulled his foot back and he's like, that's not brain dead. And they were like, oh, he's brain dead. But trust me, they have reflexes. He didn't feel a thing. So then he goes over to his kid and he takes his fingernail and he sticks it under the kid's fingernail. And the hand retracts back. And he goes, that is not brain death. No, I don't want the vultures to fucking circle anymore. Fuck off. My kid's going to make it. Yeah. And that kid was only like 21 or something when it happened. And now he probably has like a family and, it's just so wrong. And to hear these like victims talking about, and there's a whole website, it's like OregonFacts.net or something if you're into this kind of shit, which I think is fascinating. But like understand that malpractice in our country is like one of the top leading causes of death. And so the doctor telling you that like your loved one has moved on and we would like to make $250,000, please. Like, fuck you. But some families have to go to court to even be able to transfer their loved one to another hospital to give care because the hospital is like, nope, they're dead. So carve it up. But anyway, I wanted to say, let's say you are a victim of malpractice because you've been poisoned by a doctor or you were, let's say, shot in the head by a coworker or in fact, when I went to homicide school, the LA County coroner said that in her career, she has seen multiple SIDS deaths, that when she was able to open up the head, was able to see hematomas inside the head, which means that brain went boing, 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 which is shaken baby. That's not a baby that dies naturally during their sleep. But what this coroner said was that, I'm not trying to get people to fucking get away with any more stuff with kids, but what she said was that both of these families said that they wanted to donate their baby. We want to donate right away. And of course, the vultures jump in. The medical lobby trumps any kind of evidence. If you need evidence to show that your loved one was shot execution style because of the trajectory of the bullet, once they've ripped off all of the skin and taken everything they could possibly take to see who, what gift shop wants any bits, now you don't have that body as evidence. You cannot prove trajectory anymore because, and I've seen these bodies, what is left does not look like a human anymore. So you're not going to get a jury of 12 normal people to go, oh, yeah, I see how that would have been a head. Like, you're just not going to get a case filed. And with these shaken babies, because they donated the baby's body, that they weren't able to preserve that evidence to the degree that you need to for a homicide trial. And both of those sets of parents got away with homicide, according to the LA County coroner. But what the coroner also said is that one of those sets of parents, that was their second SIDS death. And they're just like, dude, is this what they're just like doing to their fucking kids? So anyway, you're not getting any fucking money. You're not saving any goddamn football players. You're making Pfizer a bunch of money. They have enough. And yeah, so go and take that donor shit off. And also these stupid lobbyists will tell you, they target poor people too, and go, I know that you can't afford a burial for your loved one, but we'll pay for the cremation for you, you know, with what's left after you save the fucking football player. And so then you're like, oh, well, I mean, that's a pretty good savings because, like, you know, funerals cost thousands of dollars and cremation even costs. And these people, that these brokers have been caught giving them back urns full of concrete and kitty litter and sand and shit. It's so disreputable. And anyway, that's my rant about donor registry. I would never do it.
Wow.
I am donating my body to science, though. When I die.
Yeah, so that's the last question. Now that you finished your 57-minute rant, the last question I have for you both is, what are your plans when you die? What's going to happen to you when that day comes?
Danielle, I lied. I do care, even when gangsters and idiots pass away. So for myself, Molly asked me that question. Today's Friday. Wednesday, I had never. Give me 1 second. I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, Danielle, what are you gonna do? I know you're interviewing us, but
I'm not going to donate my organs now. I know that. I'm going to check that off. If you asked me when I was like 18, I would have been like, I have to be buried because I'm going to come back as a vampire. I can't be cremated. I have to be left intact so I can come back and, be ultra goth. But now that, I know better, I probably won't be a vampire. I'll definitely, have my kids cremate me. I have filled out a will. That's an intense thing to do, is get a will.
Molly, MOLL.
But that's an intense thing to fill out. It's like fill a will out and put all your stuff to people. And I have kids, so it's like, who's going to take care of your kids if you pass? So, like sitting there going like,
Randy, R-A.
I don't know. He doesn't even have power at his house. How are the kids going to do their homework?
No food.
No food. He's not going to be able to provide for the children.
I know.
But yeah, so important to get a will done. It's really easy to do, get that completed. I have I already forgot what it was called. And DNR.
Attorney?
Or
DNR.
Medical DNR. I have that filled out. I have all of that taken care of. Especially,
there's a lot of forms free on the internet too.
Yeah, there's a lot of free forms.
If you handwrite it, you don't have to get a lot of things notarized. Check your state, but some states, if you handwrite it, you don't have to get it notarized. You
never know when something's going to happen. I've had a lot of friends and family pass away in accidents and unexpectedly. So you're never too young. You have that stuff squared away and situated, and know where all your belongings and things and house, car, whatever you have are going to. But that's it. And then cremated. There's a joke. I didn't make this joke up. I saw it on the internet where they said you can get cremated and put your ashes inside of a timer and make a little game board box, Pictionary or something, so that you're always there for game night with your family and be like, Mom's in the timer,
I play a lot of board games. I don't think I play any with a timer.
What time is it, Danielle?
I know. Let's ask Mom. So that's something funny, but there's a lot of things people can do now with ashes. They can, put it in a pot to grow a tree. or make jewelry out of it. I think all that stuff's pretty cool, so you can remember people by. But yeah, I'm fine to be cremated. Throw my ashes on a mountain.
I just remembered why I told you 1 minute.
Okay.
My memory is like a fruit fly. Anyways, the stories I told you guys tonight, I haven't told anyone pretty much ever. So when you asked how we deal with some of this stuff,
Yeah.
just put it inside. And this isn't even my Marine Corps stuff. I never saw combat, but I saw some hellacious stuff. Like there was a flood in Albany, bunch of dead bodies. Like everybody's house is underwater and there's people just floating around, and I still have PTSD and nightmares from it. Oh, that's another thing. I have some gnarly nightmares.
I imagine.
Yeah. Like 4 a.m. You know what I haven't thought about in a while? That terrible thing that happened, like breath work. Thursdays on the Kate Awakening. Watch Ryan's show. He's really great because he's seen some shit, and it's been really cool listening to him for the last couple weeks.
All right, what's happening to you when you die?
Well, I wanted them to put my roller skates on me and throw me to the sharks, but apparently that's not legal. So I had to come up with another plan. There is the University of Tennessee in Knoxville has a body farm. And this might be macabre, but you're dead. And I can solve cases when I'm dead. And what they do is like they will simulate based off of a death that happened with somebody about my body size, blah, 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 that was found in a cooler or tied to a tree or whatever. And based off of the decomp of that body, we know that it had to have been between October 13th and therefore your alibi, blah, blah, blah. So like you're actually solving like real cases. And you also have to sign an additional waiver if you allow them to stab you, blow you up, shoot projectiles at you. And I signed it. Like I'm dead. I don't really let's do it. So that's where I'm going. University of Tennessee, and it's free. You just sign the papers and send it in. And the only thing that your family has to pay for is just your transportation to Knoxville. They'll pick you up if you live within like 100 miles or something, but otherwise you got to get your own ride. But I think it's a really noble thing.
You know.
And Patricia Cornwell has a lot of things about the body farm, and like, yeah, there's an old CSI show. Yeah, Chickaboom. A lot of people, there's several body farms, but this one at University of Tennessee in Knoxville is like the one, and you just never know. I wanted to do the Body Worlds exhibit, where they like plastinate you, but it's like everybody wants to be the warrior, like up on the horse, like, yeah, but like, I know my life, and like they would probably make me like bend over cleaning out a closet for all of eternity. And like or like what if they make you like playing basketball and you're like, fuck this, I don't want to play basketball. Like I want to be the thinker. I want to be like doing the thing. And like there was this one family and the little kid was like on the shoulders, and like the little kid was giving a thumbs up, like, fuck you if some like little kid is gonna be on my goddamn shoulders with a thumbs up anyway. So then I looked into it more, and I'm going to the body farm. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or
Danielle?
This was absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, both of you. I had no idea all of the work and investigation and procedure and logistics, the emotion, the drama, the heartache, the terror, everything that goes into all of these investigations that you saw probably hundreds, maybe thousands of. And, thank you both for your service very much.
I'm not doing it anymore.
Well, you did it at one time. And this is fascinating, and I learned a lot. And
thank you for interviewing us, Danielle.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Especially because we're a little much to handle sometimes with Randy and I with our Amish internet. Although, look, I got my shit together. People can see I actually have like eyes and a mouth, and like,
you got lots of compliments tonight. Everyone was so excited that you upgraded your butter churn. And
I got a phone, guys. It's not new, but it's new to me. And I'm going to be trying that. But I think for next week, just because it's only Randy and I'm going to come back to work and we're just going to do it from my work because we have interwebs here.
yeah.
No Danielle next week?
She doesn't want to be a part of that.
Okay.
I'll watch from afar.
Yeah.
I'll be with you in spirit.
Yeah.
Nice.
Next week, we're diving a little deeper into LAPD to show you a little bit of the back shit that happens with officers and why Randy and I both left LAPD and why we're not looking back. It was the best job that both of us ever had. It's not that we're not grateful, but there's some stories I think that need to be told between you and I think that this might be the place to put the shit to rest. So we hope that you come check us out next week. But I just want to thank you so much, Danielle.
Thank you, Danielle.
You're professional, and we're such slapdicks. It's very nice for you to come and class the place up. Appreciate it. And also, obviously, super thanks to my baby sister Kate, who
Thank you, Kate.
Totally shut up her channel. And thanks to everybody. You guys are just so neat. Leyland and everyone and Big Hair Super
Thank you, chat.
Yeah, thank you to the chat. You know what's so sad is all this chat of all these fun people that I see during all my sister shows, it goes away and then it goes to the comment section and there's nothing in the comment section. So maybe say a little hello in the comment. I will follow anybody that leaves a chat or a comment in the real part instead of the live chat. I will follow you back even if you don't have videos.
Molly, I got something to say real quick.
Yeah.
My apologies for looking like Captain Caveman over here because of my friggin' governor. To everyone I promise you there won't be any more technical difficulties from California.
Right. And we were talking before and I'm like, maybe go to a Starbucks. He's like, so I could talk about dead people while people are drinking their lattes. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, work on that. Work on getting a new governor by next Friday. So yes, we are now live. Friday nights is our new time slot, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern at the Kate Awakening on Rumble, which is where all the fun chat is happening. And also Molly Sleuth on Rumble and YouTube, especially if you love frustration and censorship and ads. YouTube's a great place to be. And but I think we're gonna put some ridiculous shit on my stuff too, and we'll try to keep the legit stuff on my sister's channel because she's pretty professional. But yes, so next week Randy and I are doing our LAPD tell-all, and we're finally ready to talk about it. But then we have a few other shows in the works. So January 3rd, we're going to debunk these new urban legends. This is so fascinating to me. It's the zip ties on the door handles and the napkin stuck into the gas pump and all these things that these influencers are saying and why they're absolutely fucking bullshit. And so that's going to be kind of a fun chat. And then real safety tips for stuff that you actually need to pay attention to in this new criminal hellscape that we're living in right now. And then January 10th, we're going to be talking about idiocracy and the dumbification of society. And that one's really fun. I'm already starting to make the stupid thumbnail for that. And it involves a toilet. So there you have it. And plus we got a show we're going to do with my sister towards the end of January on hypnotherapy. I got some body language stuff, more cop friends. So we just got a bunch of stuff. So just pop in Friday nights, ask your burning questions and all that good shit. And thanks for giving a crap. Now, my sister taught me how to do this. Let me see if I can do this, everyone. See you all in the chat. Bye, friends.
Bye.
Hold on. Grandma needs her glasses. Okay, I got to turn off fucking YouTube.
Whoa.
Remove. See, Danielle always does this.